Hey guys, Frank from the Frankie Duty channel. I wanted to bring you a video today on hunting tips. If you're new to hunting or if you're a veteran, I figured maybe you could get something useful out of this video. This is nothing really official. I just sat down and tried to think about facts or tips that I could come up with that would be useful for somebody who wants to get into hunting to know. So I tried to go for 10, but I couldn't get to 10. I only actually came up with 8. I'm sure that I'll hear about it in the comments because I know there's something I'm forgetting or something I could extrapolate on, but here's my 8, and there's overlap among all of them, so bear with me, but I'll try and keep this as quick and as clear and concise as I can, okay? So number 1 is safety, and I mean that not just in terms of firearm safety, but in preparations and, you know, just kind of being proactive whenever you go to a place that could be very remote, or, you know, you're 20 feet up or 30 foot up off the ground. You want to just be very safe in your undertakings. That goes along with wearing fluorescent orange or being physically prepared to be able to walk to where you're going to hunt and walk back from where you're going to hunt with heavy clothes on and gear. So they say in Pennsylvania the #1 cause of death among hunters is heart attacks, and that surprises a lot of people, but it kind of makes sense if you think about it. So safety is something that really is paramount in hunting. I really think so. Number 2 is state/federal law awareness. So I hunt in Pennsylvania. There's not a lot of federal land, but there are federal laws applicable to the kind of hunting that I do, and there's many laws related to the state that they enforce through the Pennsylvania Game Commission. So it's always a good idea to, you know the laws. You have to. I mean, it's huge. You have to know those laws, not just so that you can go out and hunt accordingly, abiding to state laws, but so that you can be an example to others. And, you know, if you have kids someday, or, you know, any kind of relatives or friends that are hunting with you, it's important to be an example to them too, to be able to go out and do things correctly the right way. There's so many hunters out there, unfortunately, that, you know, give a bad name to hunters, and the public sees that, and then they think that's a stereotype that goes along with all hunters, that we're all a bunch of, you know, redneck beer drinking hicks that go out and just haphazardly shoot guns whichever direction we see or think we see a deer. And that's not true. It's okay to be a little bit redneck, but be a safe redneck. That's what I would say. Number 3 is be prepared, and in that I mean have a good pack. I have an old JanSport book bag that's full of stuff that I need whenever I go out there. I've recorded a video. I didn't post it yet, but I have a review of the pack contents I use for hunting, and take a look at that if you're interested. And I'm sure there's lots of other good videos about that on YouTube as well, and good resources that you can look up. But it's always good to have a pack, and I mean, if you're hunting out of a stand, you want to have a drop rope, you want to have a deer drag, you want to have a deer call, a grunt call, you want to have a rattle bag maybe, any kind of calls. You want to make sure that your ammunition, you know, if you have any backup ammunition or anything like that, or it's in like a small pouch, or, you know, you want to have deer dressing, field dressing gloves for an animal that you're going to process. If you're going to process it in the field, you want to have some food with you, some water with you, a flashlight, some baggies, some garbage bags, some old Walmart bags to put stuff in, things like that. There's a ton of things that you want to have with you whenever you're hunting, and it's good to go prepared and, you know, just be ready. Number 4 is silence/motion/scent, and I wanted to just kind of briefly touch upon that. I think that it's something I've learned the hard way. Just whenever you're hunting, you want to try and be as still as possible. Even if you are 20-30 feet off the ground, you want to kind of use your eyes to look around. You don't want to make any tons of sudden movements, you know, looking all around, and, you know, none of those. You want to keep your motion to a minimum. Scent, there's a lot of people that are big on scent sprays for clothes, things like that. I've never been like a huge, really scent guy when it comes to hunting, especially for white-tailed deer. I do have a little bit of it that I'll spray on myself if I notice, you know, I have some kind of, you know, say I change oil or something like that. I always try to get those kind of scents off of me, and I'll sometimes try to mask it There's also scent killers that'll just totally erase the scent. So you can experiment with those things and do research on them accordingly. Some people swear by it, and I'm sure they do for good reason. Number 5 is have a good place to hunt. And sometimes in Pennsylvania, people have private ground that they hunt on, and that's, I think, probably the majority of hunters, I would like to think, in PA. I notice in the United States, as you shift further eastward, there's typically more private land that's hunted, and as you shift westward in the United States, there's more public land that's hunted. So depending on where you are, always talk to landowners, talk to friends, family, things like that, and abide by your state's laws when doing so, regardless of where you're hunting. There's a lot of state game lands in Pennsylvania. I know that whenever I worked out in North Dakota, there was a lot of federal lands, waterfowl production areas, things like that, refuges, those kind of things. So have a good place to go. That's a huge part of it. Sometimes you have to do some research there, but it's a big part of it. Number 6 I put down is Preseason Prep, and it's just pretty much essentially trail cameras, setting up your stand, trying to think about the best place to put it in relation to where you might see something. If you're allowed to bait, I don't really like baiting myself. I'm not allowed to bait in Pennsylvania. Even if I was allowed, I would not bait. To me, that takes a lot of the fun out of it. Some people were going to disagree with me there, and I'm sure they have their reasons, but that's just my opinion. In Pennsylvania, there's a lot of laws that I think are different than some other states, and tons of overlap laws. So just depending on where you're from, you have to know those things. And again, that all ties back into preseason prep work. So do those kind of things too. Like I'll start hunting in September, October here in archery season, and I'll go out in July and August, and I'll start with my prep work, figure out where I'm going to go, where I'm going to set up my stand, so on and so forth. Start with the trail camera, see what's in the area. Okay, number 7 is have a plan if and after you're successful. So a lot of people go out and they hunt and then don't figure they're going to get anything. But if you do get something, are you ready to process it? Are you ready to get it back to the truck? Are you ready to get out of the stand? You know what you're going to do. A big mistake I made, and I know a lot of people make this mistake, is after they do shoot, for example, a white-tailed deer, they go after it right away. That's one of the biggest mistakes you can make. You do not want to push a deer after you've shot it. That's just one example, though. I don't want to get into tons of examples specifically about that, but you just want to, back to this point, you just want to have a plan of how you're going to field dress the animal, how you're going to butcher the animal, where you're going to process it at, and how you're going to get it there. So that's something to always keep in mind. And then my last point I could think of was number 8 was know your weapon. So talking about training, talking about maintenance of the weapon, how the mechanisms work with the weapon, and you just want to practice with it. You want to really feel comfortable and feel like it's an extension of your body, more or less, whenever the time comes for you to go out there and hunt. And I mean with archery, I mean with 22, I mean with a high-power rifle, I mean with a pistol, things like that. You just want to be prepared, because the last thing you want to do is go out, wound an animal, which it happens, but you don't want to do it. You want to do everything in your power to prevent wounding an animal and not finding it, right? So that's what I always try to recommend to people is, practice as much as you can so that when the time comes, you have the highest success rate possible, the highest probability of success possible. So ultimately, I would say that, there's definitely more things out there that are, very beneficial to know when it comes to hunting. There's things I've forgotten. I tried to really make kind of like a detailed list, and again, in kind of a compact video. There's things I could have talked about more, but I don't want to go on and rant. If you have questions, feel free to ask me. If you have other points that don't overlap with the things I said, or there's something significant in the points I said you want to kind of address a little bit more significantly, bring it up, please, in the comments. We're all in this together. The biggest thing is you really want to try and do everything with the right kind of etiquette, the right kind of mindset and attitude, so that you can be an example to others about hunting and about why we hunt. And it goes in back to the wildlife management side of things as well. Feel free to say that. In Pennsylvania, there's a very rich hunting heritage. We want to continue that. Hunters are on the decline. Trappers are on the decline. We want to continue to bring those numbers up. We want to continue to try and be proactive in that, so that people can enjoy these kind of things for years and years to come, and our kids' kids can go back and relive some of the moments that we relived. So anyway, just remember to get out in the woods, and feel free to say anything in the comments that I've forgotten or anything you want to bring up. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and thanks for everything, and I'll see you guys in the next video.